They say time is a thief. But as I sit here, looking back on my life, I realize time has also been a gift. A gift that allowed me to share a lifetime with the most extraordinary man I've ever known. My Henry. It all began on a sunny spring day, much like this one. I was 18, a young girl with stars in her eyes, working at my father's small bookstore. The shelves were lined with books that smelled of aged paper and stories waiting to be discovered. That day, the bell above the door chimed, and in walked Henry, tall and lanky, with a shy smile that could light up the darkest room. He had a book list clutched in his hand, and at the top was a rare edition of a Hemingway novel. "I've searched everywhere for this," he said, his voice a little nervous. I remember how our fingers brushed as I handed him the book from the top shelf. We talked for hours that day about books, dreams, and the world beyond our small town. He told me about his dream of traveling to Paris, to see the Eiffel Tower and soak in the city's artistic atmosphere. I shared my wish to write a book someday, a story that would touch people's hearts. Little did I know that conversation would be the start of something that would last a lifetime. Our courtship was simple yet magical. Every Sunday, he'd pick me up on his old bicycle, a bouquet of wildflowers tucked in the basket. We'd take long walks along the river, sharing ice cream cones and stolen glances. On rainy days, we'd huddle in the bookstore, surrounded by books. He'd read passages from classic novels aloud, his voice deep and soothing, and I'd listen, completely entranced. One evening, as the rain tapped gently on the window panes, he turned to me and said, "Every story I've ever read pales in comparison to the story we're creating together." My heart skipped a beat, and I knew then that I was falling deeply in love with him. And when he finally proposed, it was a moment straight out of a fairy tale. It was the anniversary of the day we met, and he'd asked me to meet him at the bookstore after closing. The store was filled with candles, their flames flickering and casting a warm glow on the shelves. He was down on one knee in the very same spot where we first talked, holding a small velvet box. "From the moment I saw you, my life changed," he said, his eyes shining with tears. "Will you do me the honor of spending the rest of your life with me?" I didn't hesitate for a second. "Yes," I said. 1,000 times yes. Marriage wasn't always easy. There were lean years when we struggled to make ends meet, when every penny counted. Henry worked at a local factory during the day, his hands calloused from hard labor, and took on odd jobs in the evenings. But he always came home with a smile, never once complaining. On cold winter nights, we'd huddle together under a patchwork quilt, sharing stories and dreams to keep the chill away. One Christmas, when money was especially tight, he made me a handmade necklace out of twine and a small polished stone. "It may not be fancy," he said, "but it's a symbol of my love for you." I wore that necklace every day for years, and even now, it's one of my most cherished possessions. Then came the day our little Sarah was born. I'll never forget the look on Henry's face when he first held our daughter in his arms, a mix of awe, joy, and a fierce protectiveness. He'd come home from work early just to rock her to sleep, singing off-key lullabies that always made her giggle. As Sarah grew older, Henry became her hero. He taught her how to ride a bike, running alongside her, his hand steady on the seat until she found her balance. He'd take her fishing on weekends, patiently teaching her how to bait a hook and cast a line. Those were some of the happiest days of our lives, filled with laughter and love. As the years went by, we watched our little girl grow into a beautiful young woman, start a family of her own. Henry and I grew older together, our hair turning gray, our steps slowing down. But our love only deepened with time. We'd sit on the porch in the evenings, watching the sunset, reminiscing about our life, our adventures, our dreams fulfilled. We'd talk about the time we finally saved enough money to visit Paris, how Henry's eyes lit up when he saw the Eiffel Tower for the first time, or the day I published my first book, and he threw a surprise party for me, inviting all our friends and family. And then one fateful day, Henry got sick. Happened so suddenly. Overnight, the strong, vibrant man I'd loved for so long was reduced to a shadow of himself. I stayed by his bedside, holding his hand, whispering words of love and comfort, just as he'd done for me all those years. On his last day, he opened his eyes, looked at me and said, "Thank you for giving me a lifetime of love." Those were his last words, and when he took his last breath, a part of me died with him. But even though he's gone, I feel his presence every day. In the way the sunlight filters through the curtains in the morning, it's as if he's gently waking me up. In the smell of freshly baked bread that reminds me of the loaves he used to make. His secret recipe that I still follow to this day. In the laughter of our grandchildren that echoes through the house. It's like his spirit lives on through them. He may be physically gone, but his love, his spirit, lives on in every corner of this home, in every memory I hold dear.